Ladies and gentlemen, you've been asking for this for legitimate years at this point. I am bringing back the YouTuber ruling quiz. Now, the last time I did this was, I want to say it was something like 3 years ago. It has been a long time, so I'm bringing back some of y'all favorites. And we're going to see if over the course of the last couple of years, they've learned more about rulings. Let's see if they can do better than they did last time. But this time around, the first guest that we're going to have on is shockingly the one who has gotten the most amount of views on YouTube when I quizzed him. MBT, hi, Joseph.
The problem is the last time you did it, I was the hot commodity, and now I'm yesterday's potatoes.
And we also did Hero, which I think was a big buff.
You gotta get Mr. Beast on to do the Chocolate Magician Girl rulings.
No, you know what the hack to get a bunch of views is? I just gotta get Syriax on for Winged Dragon of Ra. That's it.
That actually is it. That's actually it. Why are we even wasting our time here?
So for today, I'm going to be quizzing Joseph on his flavor of the week because, as we know, MBT plays a lot of different decks, but the most recent deck that he has been piloting is the Fairy Tale Strategy. You've been playing this for a little minute, right?
Yeah. I've been playing. I've been grinding it for about a month. I love this deck, but my experience is mostly in the superior format Genesis. So if you ask me about like stupid Artemis loops, I'm not really gonna know them. So I want to
say a couple of questions involve link monsters. I hope that doesn't terrify you. Is that okay?
What the fuck is a link monster? Is that like a pendulum? I don't read those.
What is a pen? I've never heard of those. So the structure of this is the same as it was back when I did this years ago. I'm going to be showing you 8 ruling questions, and I'm going to ask you to give me the right answer. If you get it right, you get a point. If you get it wrong, you don't get a point. And then we tally up the score at the end and see just how awful you are at rulings. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, then let's get into question number 1. So here, you control Fairy Tale Tales, and you have Fairy Tale Luna in your hand. Very simple board state. I'm sure this has happened to you many a time.
Evan, I've never played Fairy Tale Tales.
You've never played Fairy Tale Tales. Well, okay, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. You're going to have to tell me how it works, though. My question for you, Mr. Joseph, is if you control no monsters, can you activate the effect of Fairy Tale Tales? Now you can go ahead and give the card a read out loud, or I can, or whatever you want to do. If you want to read any cards, let me know. I'll mouse over them for you.
Yeah, go ahead and read it out for me.
Yeah, I'll read it out for you. You can reveal one spellcaster monster in your hand with 1850 attack and a different name than the monsters you control. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal, summon, or set it. Can you activate this if you control no monsters?
Am I missing something? Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Love that your answer is just yes. Well, Joseph, you are correct. The answer is in fact yes. You can activate Fairy Tale Tales, revealing the Luna here in order to normal summon the Luna. Specifically because whenever a card checks to know whether or not it's with a different name than the monsters you control, even if you control no monsters, the Luna is a different name than the monsters you control. So you can activate the effect of Fairy Tale Tales.
The version of this that doesn't work, it would say like min 1, right?
Something to that effect. Yeah, something to that effect. Typically, they don't say that though. I don't think cards that say with a different name than something you control or whatever. They don't typically. No, I don't
think any of them say that. Min 1 is usually on like if you have to control a type of monster, or if you have to not control a type of monster, something like that.
So yes, you are correct. I gave you a little bit of a freebie to start us off.
Hey, I was like, this is a trick question. Am I missing something?
Well, so typically the rulings get harder as we go, right? So the first couple are going to be a lot easier than the rest, That's why it's going to be embarrassing if you get this next one wrong. But you are correct. You are 1 for 1. So let's move on to question number 2. For question number 2, here is the current board state. You have Once Upon a Fairy Tale in hand, Fairy Tale Matchgiru in hand, you have Rella in grave, Luna banished.
All at least fringe playable cards here. Thank you.
Yeah, they're all playable cards. It's no Fairy Tale Tale. Galatea is on the opponent's board, and they have a set Orchest Crescendo. So in this situation, you activate Once Upon a Fairy Tale, and your opponent chains the Orchest Crescendo in order to negate and banish that card. After this resolves, my question to you is, can you now activate the second effect of Once Upon a Fairy Tale in order to set it to your field again?
The text of Once Upon a Fairy Tale that's dispositive here is, if this card is banished or sent to the graveyard except from the field, you can set this card but it cannot be activated unless you control a fairy tale monster. And that first part of the effect applies to the whole thing, right? If this card is... I actually don't know how this sentence works. If this card is banished except from the field. Like, so if it was banished from the field, you couldn't reset it?
Correct, yeah. It has to be banished from any location other than the field in order to be allowed to activate in banishment to set itself.
Regardless, that doesn't matter. You can reset Once Upon a Fairy Tale here.
Elaborate on this one. I'm curious.
But it wasn't on the field. Its activation was negated, and it went to the graveyard.
Yeah, you're correct. You are absolutely correct. You are allowed to activate it, specifically because the activation was negated, which would be different to whether or not, if the effect was negated rather than the activation, you wouldn't be allowed to activate it because it was sent from the field to the banishment. But because this negates the activation, the Once Upon a Fairy Tale never successfully hits the board. Now, just a bonus question, where is it banished from? Is it banished from the hand? Is it banished
from
the
nether zone?
From the nether zone? from the ether. Yeah, it literally is banished from nowhere. It does not have a location. It's not considered to be in your hand. It's from limbo or something, which is a really interesting and unique one. Yeah.
I actually know this one because Bell is very playable in Genesis, and it works the same. If you activate it and they bell it, you get to reset it.
Right, because this also triggers if it hits the grave. Wow.
The weird part about this card is if it's set on your field, like you set it off the effect of itself, and then you flip it and they bell it.
Yeah.
You get to set it? And the answer is yes. And the question is, well, what the fuck? It was on the field.
Do you want to know why?
No. You actually do. Do tell me. Do tell me.
So the reason why is because the way negating the activation of a spell works is really interesting. Because, like, okay, logically, right? If you activate Once Upon a Fairy Tale from hand, and I chain, I don't know, something like a Borreload Savage Dragon, which negates the activation, why are you then allowed to MST that same card? Because it's like, well, I'm negating the activation, so it's not on board. The way spells and traps work is they are on board until the moment where their activation is successfully negated, at which point they are removed from being on the field before being sent to whatever other location they're going to. That's the reason why. Like, that's the logic. It's really ridiculous. I think that is so stupid, but that is the logic of why it works that way.
Why not? You know, why not?
Why not? So you're currently 2 for 2, Joseph. You're doing a very good job. You got the 2 first easy rulings. They are going to get harder as we go. So let's move into question number 3. We got cards on here. We got cards on cards. Look at this. Luna, Ball, you play these. I know you play these cards. So in this situation, you control Fairy Tale Ball and a Fairy Tale Luna, and you're playing against Malice. Look at that. There's a blue card. Where did they put ritual monsters in the extra deck? Where did that happen? In this situation, your opponent has activated the effects of their Malice Heart Scripter to banish a card. So here they're going to activate it, put back their TB11 because they're behind, and they're going to banish your Fairy Tale Luna. After this, your opponent is going to activate the effect of their March Hare in order to summon it, and this will allow you to trigger the effect of your Fairy Tale Ball. In this situation, your Fairy Tale Ball will be targeting their Malice Heart Scripter in order to negate its effects and change its name to Prince of Fairies. So my question for you is, after this resolves, can your opponent activate that effect of Malice Heart Scripter again? Because it says you can only use each effect of Malice Heart Scripter once per turn.
Well, the first question I would have is, how are you activating Fairy Tale Ball without a Fairy Tale monster on your side of the field?
We're assuming that there is one. You think I read these cards?
Okay,
I don't fucking know what these cards do.
That's fair. That's fair.
Does it need a Fairy Tale monster? Me when I don't read. Let's assume
Yeah,
the Luna's back on the board.
You thought it was just a fucking flatten a gate. It was a field spell.
Assume the Luna's back on the board. I don't know, man. It's okay.
I'll assume that. I'm realizing I could have gotten away with a lot more in my Genesis games. Just like start fucking pointing at things.
Now, assuming everything here is legal, because restrictions aren't real. Can they activate the effect of their Heart Scripter here?
Simplifying things down, you're asking if once the monster's name becomes Prince of Fairies, it's hard once per turn's reset.
Yeah, that is what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you can activate the hard once per turn again after its name has been changed to something else.
No.
Damn, you do know your shit. That's crazy. Yes, you are correct. That is 3 for 3. Okay, maybe I made these a little bit too easy.
Well, okay, here's what I'll say. I know that it's no because otherwise this card would be ass. I don't know why it's no. I assume that like the hard once per turn deals with the name of the card with respect to like deck building, but I don't know.
So the hard once per turn deals with the card in respect to like its original name. Basically, they just made it like a blanket rule that you cannot cheat once per turn restrictions via just changing the name and having it be treated as something else. The same is true with like, let's say you activate a hero monsters effect with like a hard once per turn effect, and then you were to hero mask another monster to have that same name, but then it has like a different effect. It could use that effect. It doesn't get that restriction of hard once per turn per the name. Basically, whenever they hard once per turn a name, it's for that specific card.
The thing that led me down this road is, correct me if I'm wrong, in the OCG, isn't it they use the little squiggle?
The little squiggle. I don't know what you're talking about.
Instead of being like, you can only use this effective Mallets Q, Hearts Cryptor, it'll be like, you can only use effect name once per turn.
Well, the way that they word it typically is you can only use this card's name's effect or whatever, but they're specifically referring to like the physical game piece Malice Hearts Cryptor rather than the card named Malice Hearts Cryptor, if that makes sense.
I gotta say, I'm expecting most of the rulings to have to do with Fairy Tale Ball, one of the dumbest fucking cards ever printed. Really cool card, but causes just unbelievable game states.
It's really funny because I actively was trying to not have too many rulings just have to do with, and what about this funky name change
I'm like scrubbing the fucking fusion tag rulings in the other window.
All right, well, you're 3 for 3. You're doing well so far. 5 more to go. I don't even know what you expect your score is going to be, but so far you're doing very, very well. You're actually answering these very quickly.
I like playing this deck. I am ready to get a lot of them wrong. I think the easy ones are out of the way. I'm excited for the harder ones.
All right, well then let's have a look behind the fourth curtain. Question number 4. We got Agido.
Agido.
So in this situation, you control a Fairy Tale Luna, and your opponent has Agido on their field and a face-down Raigeki Break. Now, in this situation, we are assuming the opponent does have a second copy of Agido in their deck. They're playing 2 of that guy for some reason. In this situation, you activate the effect of your Fairy Tale Luna, targeting your opponent's Agido. Here, your opponent will chain their Raigeki Break, discarding another copy of Raigeki Break, to target and destroy your Fairy Tale Luna. When the Fairy Tale Luna resolves, can your opponent choose to send a copy of Agido from their deck to the grave in order to negate your Fairy Tale Luna? And additionally, the follow-up question, this is a 2-parter, should they choose not to, or if they don't have the ability to do so, say they don't have an Agido, how would the effect of Fairy Tale Luna resolve?
Okay, this one is pretty tough.
Give Fairy Tale Luna a read for us, why don't you?
The important part of the Fairy Tale Luna effect here is once per turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Your opponent can send 1 card with that monster's name from their deck or extra deck to the graveyard to negate this effect. Otherwise, return both this card and that monster to the hand. So a couple of things going on here. This is historically the powerful part of Luna. Back when people were playing Luna Kaiju with like Gren Maju, you would give your opponent a Kaiju, which they obviously won't have a copy of in their deck. You'd target it, they'd be like, I don't have a copy, then you'd get them both back and you could Kaiju again. The modern version of the deck changes the opponent's card name to Prince of Fairies, a card that doesn't exist,
which
and
is
then
really funny,
targets
by the way.
to which your opponent just can't do anything. Here we actually have a really interesting setup here because I know the answer to the second question. The short of it is both monsters have to return in order for this effect to resolve properly. Okay. Like I think SP does this too. If both monsters can't return, then nothing's going to happen. If you read Fairy Tale Wickhat, it says you summon it, then you send the monster. Specifically so you can do this stupid trick with Luna where you bounce both Luna and the monster, but the Wickhat comes out anyway.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. I like that.
What's tripping me up here is I'm like, well, would your opponent be able to negate the effect of a card whose effect is not going to resolve?
That is the big question. So I will give you this. You have correctly identified that the Luna does need to successfully be able to bounce both in order to have its effect resolved properly. However, the first part of the question here is asking whether or not the game is able to recognize that the Fairy Tale Luna's effect wouldn't resolve correctly and basically allow or not allow the opponent to send another copy of Agido from their deck to the grave should they just choose they want to mill an Agido for some reason or other.
Let's say mill 5, of course.
Yeah. Wrong Agito. Wrong Agito.
Yeah, wrong Agito.
100% there are people in tier format, by the way, that wrote Agito on their deck list, not knowing this was a card.
Wasn't there like a pro who did that and had to roll with Agito?
I want to say that probably happened. It has to have happened for sure.
It's good for it to be Agito because that card was kind of frustrating in the mirror. It was that mirror was so fun, but you just didn't want to really activate Millers if you were going first because like you don't want to give your opponent a chance to play. So sometimes you have Agitos in your deck, you're like, get fucked. You know, I actually think that you can. So I don't think the game can recognize that the effect won't do anything. So negating an effect and resolving an effect without, resolving an effect without, you know, impacting the game state. Those are two different things. God, otherwise is such a weird word here.
It is. Otherwise is also a word that does not appear on very many Yu-Gi-Oh cards, shockingly enough.
I'm trying to think of analogs here. It would be like SP is the analog I'm thinking of. But if my opponent activates SP in a position where the SP is not going to be on board, I could still like Solemn Strike that activation. And this is different than Solemn Strike because we're not negating the activation, we're negating the effect.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's an apt comparison, but I see where your brain is going to. Yeah,
it's a really bad comparison.
It's a reach, it's a stretch for sure.
I think you can. I think you can both send an Agito here and the Luna will resolve without effect regardless.
Okay, is that your final answer?
Yeah.
All right, well, Joseph, for the first time in this quiz, you are incorrect. The way that it resolves is effectively when you're about to resolve the effect of Fairy Tail Luna, the game will verify whether or not Luna is going to be resolving, at which point it would ask your opponent the question, do you want to send in order to negate instead of having the cards getting bounced? So in this situation, regardless of whether or not your opponent has an Agito in their deck that they want to send, they are not able to even make that choice because Luna does not offer that choice to the opponent if either the Luna or the monster that it targeted are no longer on the field when the Luna would resolve.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, even if the Luna is removed, there are situations where the Luna, like, gets called and maybe the monster's still on the field or something. Again, a stretch and not how the card works. But yeah, it's not... this doesn't start a chain. It's in the middle of resolution. Yeah, I get it. It just... really weird one.
Yeah, Luna is its own very unique card in this regard, and I you know, I don't blame you for not getting this one for the most part. I mean, it wouldn't really come up either, but it is the kind of thing that can come up in like some fringe cases. And frankly,
oh yeah, this isn't like that outstanding of a like frequently your Luna will eat a removal spell in response to the activation, and opponents would love to send another card from their deck to the graveyard.
Yeah. So currently you are 3 for 4. Question number 4 did trip you up a little bit. That's okay. You got 4 more to try and close it out with a positive record, but if you get all the other ones wrong, you're going to end in the negative. All right, you feeling good?
I'm feeling all right. I feel like, you know, if I flip a coin, I should at least get one of them.
I mean, you know what? You're absolutely right. Typically, you're either right or you're wrong. 50-50 every time. Let's move on to question number 5. Here we are using cards that are playable.
These are not Fairy Tail cards?
They're Fairy Tail adjacent enough. You play this. You literally play this card.
Yeah, they're Fairy Tail cards.
You literally play this card. All right, so this is the current board state. Here, you control Fairy Tail Wickcat, Fairy Tail Rella, and Empire of Endymion, while you have Regulus, the Prince of Endymion, in your hand. In this situation, your opponent activates the Fallen and the Virtuous, and it's going to be targeting your Fairy Tail Rella because it's the only card on your board that it can target. In this situation, when the Fallen and the Virtuous resolves, can you choose to apply the effect of Empire of Endymion to destroy the Regulus that is in your hand?
Wow. First off, shouts out to my opponent for not reading a single card on the field. So I guess the issue here is there are 2 different things that are preventing the Rella from being destroyed here, which is Empire of Endymion's replacement effect, which allows you to destroy a Regulus you control or have in your hand in order to avoid destruction.
Correct.
And Wickat's effect, which is if your light Fairy Tail monsters are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're asking, is it the right play to do X? I think what you're asking is, if you so desired, can you send the Regulus?
I am asking you, is it legal to apply the effect of Empire of Endymion to destroy Regulus instead in order to protect a monster that would otherwise be unaffected by the Fallen and the Virtuous. Is that a legal play in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game?
Intuitively, it feels like no, but we are playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, so God only knows.
I have very much presented you with a situation where both players are like severely misplaying right now, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's pretty true to life in my.
That's also Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game in a nutshell. Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out if Wicat's unaffected clause trumps the replacement effect of Empire of Endymion.
There are scenarios where like something like this could come up. Probably not for the Fairy Tale deck, but like assume Regulus had some kind of effect when it was destroyed or whatever, and you wanted to proc it. Like, would you be able to pop it in order to proc it? There are certain decks in which that could come up.
We can make up an example. We want to have
probably some
the correct number of
shit.
names in graveyard for Mixusa.
Yeah, sure. Legitimately. Yeah, that could literally be a thing.
Yeah, so this is tough. This Empire of Endymion clause, if a card you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, that happens during the resolution of the card. So like Luna, that's when the game checks, is like when the destruction would happen. So that makes me feel as if the fact that it's unaffected from Wicat means that check is never passed. So I would say you cannot use Empire of Endymion to send Regulus here.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Well, Joseph, you have talked your way into the correct answer. You are right. Because of the effect of Wicat, you cannot apply the Empire of Endymion for exactly the reason that you stated. The reason why is because anytime you get a replacement effect like the Empire of Endymion that says you destroy this instead of destroying that, you need to get to the point in the game state where your card is being destroyed. Like, you need to actually have the destruction take place, and it's at that very moment that you decide when you want to replace this card's destruction with something else. So because you never get to the point where the Rella is marked to be destroyed by this card effect, you never reach the point in which Empire of Endymion is able to replace that destruction. So you're absolutely correct.
I think I would have been actively mad if it was the other way around, I will say.
I mean, okay. a big thing in Yu-Gi-Oh, which is something that I sometimes bring up when I'm like quizzing people on like advanced rulings and stuff like that, is sometimes you get like different like stacking effects of like destroy this instead of that. But if you have multiple like mandatory ones, they like all apply and whatever. It's a complete shit show. This is a watered down version of that, but I'm glad that you got this right. I think that it's the kind of thing that feels intuitive, but also feels like Yu-Gi-Oh would absolutely do something fucky with it. You know what I mean?
The opponent here could not have fucked this play up more.
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you mean you targeted the light one?
Well, so you can't target the Wicat because of the Rella, right? It says the opponent can target monsters on the field with spell effects, except this one. So like this Fallen the Virtuous was just absolutely cooked. Chat, just so you know, if you're a Fairy Tale player, Wicat plus Rella just walls Fallen the Virtuous. Congrats, I've given you the best play of all time. Okay, so with that being said, you are 4 for 5 currently. 3 more questions to go. Absolute worst, you're scoring a 50-50. You just got to get one of these and you'll be in the positives. Let's move on to question number 6. Your opponent controls a Fallen of the White Dragon and has a set super polymerization. You control Weaver of Fairy Tales and a Fairy Tale Rella in your hand. In this situation, you will normal summon Fairy Tale Rella and trigger the effect of Weaver of Fairy Tales in order to target your opponent's Fallen of the White Dragon to negate its effects and change its name to Prince of Fairies. After that resolves, your opponent wants to activate their Super Poly, discarding their Fallen of the White Dragon in hand, and they want to make Mirror Jade the Ice Blade Dragon using their Fallen of the White Dragon, whose name is now treated as Prince of Fairies, and your Weaver of Fairy Tales. Is that legal?
What a fucking nightmare. Oh, you said there were... This is a Fairy Tale ball question in disguise. All right, so here's what's going on. I think the friction here is that when Weaver's effect activates, it's allowed to target a monster your opponent controls and change its name to Prince of Fairies and negate its effects.
Correct.
Fallen on the White Dragon has a clause that the other Albaz doesn't, which is this card is always treated as Fallen of Albaz. And this is a clause that you see on, like, I think Cyber Harpy Lady, the Umi retrains, that affects not only, like, its position on the field, but also, like, its position in deck building, right?
Yeah.
It is always Fallen of Albaz, even when you are, searching it from your deck.
Yeah, I think a big thing to keep in mind is a lot of people like to call this reminder text. The parentheses on Fallen of the White Dragon is beyond reminder text. It's not just like reminding you, oh, you can't do this in the damage step. This is effectively rules text that applies, that is written on the card, because this is text that is so powerful that it applies even in deck building. You know what I mean? You're not allowed to play 3 Fallen of the White Dragon and 3 Fallen of Albaz, for example.
Yeah, I do want to change the characterization a little. It is rules text for sure, but I wouldn't describe it as more powerful than effect text, because I think the answer in this position is it is an illegal summon. Because this card is always treated as Fallen of Albaz isn't an effect. It's not something that's applying on the field. Like actual Fallen of Albaz, if you change this guy's name to Prince of Fairies, he remains Prince of Fairies. He doesn't revert back because of a rules-oriented reason. So I'm going to say that this is not a legal summon.
Final answer?
Final answer.
I'm very impressed. I am very, very impressed. You are correct. The Fallen of the White Dragon is only treated as Prince of Fairies right now. It is not treated as Fallen of Albaz, despite the text on it saying this card is always treated as Fallen of Albaz, always doing a lot of heavy lifting here. It is not treated as Fallen of Albaz right now. It is only Prince of Fairies. And the reason why, and I'll basically explain the way this, like, rules text about cards always being named something else work, is that they effectively just say that anytime this card is Fallen of the White Dragon, it's not Fallen of the White Dragon. That name doesn't exist. It's Fallen of Albaz. But if you were to change its name, it does change its name to something else. Now, I'm going to give you one of the most interesting things that happens whenever you're talking about effects, well, rules text such as this. You know how there's the illusion, like the Chimera illusion cards that say this card's name is always treated as like Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast or something like that?
Sure.
Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast has reminder text on it that says this card is always treated as a Phantom Beast card. If you have a card whose name gets treated as Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast while it's on the field, it is also treated as a Phantom Beast card. That is how intricate the name change rules with this kind of reminder text works. Now, the main reason why is just because in the OCG, they don't have that reminder text on the card. The card is just called...
I was going to say, because it's a mistranslation.
Yeah, it's just something Phantom Beast. Same thing with like Summon Skull, right? Literally same thing with Summon Skull. Like Summon Skull in the TCG. Yeah, Summon Skull in the TCG has the text that says it's always treated as an Archfiend card, but in the OCG, it doesn't have that text. It just has Archfiend in its name. So this is more so a product of TCG mistranslations than a product of reminder text and rules text being super OP. You know what I mean?
I do want to say real quick, Chad has come up with a good idea. Yeah. What if Fallen of the White Dragon had the text from the original print of Mask of Restrict and said, no matter what the situation, this card is treated as Fallen of Albaz?
Yeah, you know what, man? No matter what the situation is, it probably trumps its
most
currently
powerful.
Changed. Yeah, there you go. All right, so you're currently, what is that, 5 for 6? You've made one mistake, and we have 2 more to go. You're kind of crushing it. You are kind of crushing it. That is...
Here come the hard ones.
Completely insane. We have 2 more, and I will say these last 2 are, in my opinion, the harder ones. They are the harder ones for sure. And this next one is probably going to give you a little bit of a Genesis PTSD. You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
All right, for question number 7, your opponent controls a face-down monster and a face-down back row. With the stat line, can you guess what that face-down monster is?
You know, I really can't. 36-32.
Yeah.
I really can't.
You know it's an Xyz. It's got materials
what
under
sort
it.
of monarch of the machine it would be? Some sort of patriarch of the IBM. At least he's face down. Fuck that fucking guy.
It is, in fact, Magnus, the great king of the computer. They have a face-down Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus with 6 Xyz materials underneath it. And they also have a set Sol and Luna. And in your hand, you have Fairy Tale Rochka, which has the effect when it's normal summon. You can make your opponent gain 500. Then your opponent will look at the top 3 cards of your deck and chooses one of them for you to add to your hand. Also shuffle the rest back into the deck. In this situation, if you normal summon your Fairy Tale Rochka and activate its effect, to which your opponent will chain Sol and Luna in order to flip up their Magnus and flip down your Rochka, how does the effect of your Fairy Tale Rochka resolve?
Okay.
You want to read the relevant text on Magnus here for me?
Yeah. So this card gains different effects based on the number of materials attached to it, and it's 6, which it has. Your opponent can't add cards from the deck to the hand by card effects. Chat asks, how did Magnus get set? I actually know the answer to this one. Magnus is affected by super Quantal cards, so they air Borosed it on a previous turn.
Yeah, yeah, I'll go with that. My answer was just, it doesn't matter. This is the situation. Cry about it.
So Rochka, unfortunately, is one that I don't play. It's a good card. It's not bad. Wow. Okay, so the text on this is just fucked. I was thinking originally that what I could do is just pull on previous understandings of, like, what if you activate Duality and your opponent chains Call of the Haunted, summoning Thunder King Ryo, right? Like
or Chains Mistake Tengu, or something like that.
Yeah. Tengu format style response. But this card's effect text is different. Your opponent looks at the top 3. They choose one for you to add to your hand, and the rest are shuffled back into the deck. Man. And
another thing to keep in mind, I will give you one additional little piece of information here. Contrary to Thunder King Ryo and Mistake, Magnus says only your opponent cannot add cards from deck to hand.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. This is the dumbest ruling ever. This is going to make me mad no matter how it goes. But what I'm thinking...
Talk to me. Yeah.
Is that your opponent isn't adding the card. You're adding the card. Rochka applies an effect that makes the owner of the Magnus look at the cards, the owner of the Magnus pick the card, and then add it to your opponent's hand. Okay, back to Rochka. What is the text on Rochka exactly?
Here is the text on Rochka. It says you can make your opponent gain 500. Then your opponent looks at the top 3 cards in your deck and chooses one of them for you to add to your hand. Also shuffle the rest back into the deck.
For you to add to your hand. I mean, so that's the question is...
The question is, how does Rochka resolve?
So your opponent's the one looking at the top of the deck. Your opponent's the one choosing the card. But once they choose the card, you add it to your hand, which makes me think that you can't do it. Okay, here's how I think it would resolve.
I'm listening.
You can obviously activate it while Grey Magnus is face down. So they gain the 500, and then you are not permitted to add the card from your deck to your hand.
So you're saying they gain 500, and then the effect just stops there?
Oh, God. Is there an option where they look at the cards and choose one and then it isn't added? Wait, are you asking me if they get to look?
Maybe. How does the effect resolve?
500's always happening.
I'll give you that. The 500 is happening, yeah.
If we think it's resolving as much as possible. And here, what is and? And is at the same time, right?
So and is an interesting one because a lot of times on Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the word and could be PSCT and, or it could be the English word and, which works differently. If you want, I can give you a reminder on how the and conjunction in PSCT works.
Yeah, throw me the and conjunction.
Yeah, the and conjunction requires that both A and B be legal to do in order to do both. However, this, like the and in Rochka, like top 3 cards in your deck and chooses one, it doesn't give, to me anyway, it doesn't give PSCT and. This looks to me like the English word and.
This card's from like 2017. Like, how do we not have this templated by now? Fuck me. Okay, I'm gonna go with the funniest result. I think I'm picking this one because it is the most funny, which is obviously on activation, your opponent's gaining 500. Your opponent does get to look, but you don't get to add it to your hand.
Final answer?
Final answer.
So what? The cards just go. All 3 just get shuffled.
Yes.
Okay. You're close. You're close.
Oh.
Okay, so you gave me an example, right? You gave me an example of Pot of Duality, Chain Call the Haunted to bring back Ryo. Do you know how that resolves?
I mean, I assumed that Pot of Duality does nothing, but now that you're saying it, I'm thinking I might have been cheating in Tengu Plant.
So the way that interaction resolves is that you excavate the top 3 for Duality. You have to choose one of the 3 cards, but the card that you chose gets sent to the graveyard. In this situation with Rochka versus Great Magnus, and I only used Magnus because the wording on it was fucky. This exact same situation could happen. Rochka Chain Mistake. Literally same thing. So in this situation, you'll activate the Rochka. It will resolve, giving your opponent 500 life. Your opponent will then get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. They will choose one of them, and that card, instead of going to your hand, actually goes to your graveyard. And that is how Fairy Tail Rochka would resolve if it is Chain Link 1 and then some effect preventing you from adding a card from deck to hand is activated as like Chain Link 2 or higher.
Sure, man, whatever.
So yes, you do still have to resolve the card as much as possible to the point of your opponent choosing a card. However, because the card can't go to your hand, it has to go somewhere, and remaining in the deck is apparently not a viable option, so it does go to the graveyard. This one, I was like a little 50-50 on if you'd get it right, because I know you've played Tengu Plant, and this is how Duality Chain
but it
like
turned
Mistake
out,
or something
I
like
didn't
that.
know that interaction either.
There you go. Well, now you'll know it forever. This is one of those funny ones that you're just like, okay, this makes no fucking sense. Let's roll with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, Joseph, I have some really bad news. I have some really, really bad news. If you had gotten this one right, your score would have been 6 for 7. Unfortunately, you are 5 for 7. You have missed out on the 6-7 score. That is very, very unfortunate. However, you still have the chance of ending at 6-8 if you get this last question right. So let's move on to question number 8, the last one that we have. So in this situation, you have a Fairy Tail Snow in your grave and 6 other cards in your graveyard. You want to summon the Fairy Tail Snow, so you're going to have to banish something from your board. You control an Apocryphal Towers. You control a Bean Soldier that is in the same column as an S-Force Gravitino on your opponent's board. You control a Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Frison, which was summoned by its own effect. And you control a Jet Synchron that is also summoned by its own effect. So my question here is, if you activate Fairy Tail Snow, please name me all the monsters on your field that you could legally banish in order to pay the cost of Fairy Tail Snow. So basically, I need a very specific answer for each of these. I need you to tell me which ones you can and cannot banish for Fairy Tail Snow here.
If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 7 other cards from your hand, field, to graveyard, special summon this card. That first half of that, you can banish 7 other cards from your hand, field, to graveyard. That's a cost.
It is.
So if a card has an effect being applied to it, which would prevent it from being banished and would move it to another place, it isn't legal to banish that card. I want to first start by looking at Destrudo and Jet Synchron, because I thought these had the same one, but you put them both here, which makes me think it's a little different. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can pay off your life points and target a level 6 or lower monster you control. Special summon this card, and if you do, this card's level is reduced by the level of the targeted monster. Also, place this card on the bottom of the deck if it leaves the field, okay? If this card is in your graveyard, you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard. I imagine the snow. Special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Wow. So that's different. That is banishing.
They are different. The Jet Synchron banishes itself when it leaves the field, whereas the Destrudo goes to bottom of the deck if it leaves the field.
So I'm willing to be wrong about this, but I think if you're permitted to banish a card when it leaves the field, you can still banish it for cost. So I'm feeling good about Jet Synchron. I'm feeling bad about Destrudo. Let's do Bean Soldier.
Bean Soldier? You're going to want to read the Gravitino.
No. Back to Bean Soldier, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got
you.
My bad.
Warrior that attacks with seeds and a sword. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Gravitino. Each one of your opponent's monsters in the same column as an S-Force monster is banished when it leaves the field. This seems similar to Jet Synchron. Kind of like Bean Soldier. All right. And then Show Me Killer. This card is normal summoned or set. It is unaffected by spell trap effects and by activated effects from any monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level. And let me just count to 4 here.
Notoriously fun thing about towers. A lot of people refer to monsters that are unaffected by everything as towers. Towers himself is not a towers. You can SP this guy.
Yeah. Back in the day, what people would do is they'd make a Diamond Crab King.
You have to crash with it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Run me through your thought process. Which ones of these do you feel as though are legal to banish for snow here?
They all seem kind of intuitive, which is going to make me mad when it turns out that there's some ruling from, the Dick Book of Fuckery that specifically prevents this interaction. A Cleave Towers is unaffected by activated effects from any monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level. But in order to banish it for snow, you would be paying a cost, which is different. So I think that this card is okay to banish for its effect. Bean Soldier is banished when it leaves the field because it's in the same zone as S-Force Gravitino. I think that's okay for snow. You can pay the cost for a monster that would be banished by banishing it. So I think that one's okay as well. Jet Synchron says it's banished instead of going to the graveyard if summoned off of its own effect. Again, that's a card that would be banished when it leaves the field. I think you're permitted to banish it for the effect of snow to pay a cost. Destrudo says it has to go to the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. That is not banished. Here, I don't think you would be able to pay the cost with this monster. So I think what I'm saying is you can banish Towers, Bean Soldier, and Jet Synchron, and you cannot banish Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Frisian, for Snow's effect.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Okay, so before I give you the answer, I'm going to ask you a slightly different ruling question. I'm just curious if you know how this interaction works. Let's say, for example, are you familiar with the card Interdimensional Matter Transporter? It's basically a Farfa on a trap card. Do you know what happens if you were to Interdimensional Matter Transporter a monster that is banished when it leaves the field?
No.
Do you know if it comes back or not?
I have no idea.
So if you were to like Interdimensional Matter Transporter, like a Paleo or whatever, it won't come back. And in that situation, it would be considered to be banished by its own like restriction rather than being banished by the Interdimensional Matter Transporter. Which is why this ruling was a little bit of a trick question, because basically, the Towers I feel like was pretty straightforward, very obvious. Same thing with the Destrudo, same thing. I feel like this one's obvious. The one that I figure might trip you up is the Bean Soldier being banished by the Gravitino, or the Jet Synchron being banished by its own effect, and whether or not that would successfully be considered paying the cost for snow. And with that being said, you said that Jet Synchron and Bean Soldier would be legal costs for snow, based entirely on the fact that they end up in the correct location. And you are correct. That is how the ruling works. Because the Jet Synchron and the Bean Soldier would end up in the correct location, you are successfully paying the cost of Fairy Tale Snow. So yes, in this situation, the only monster on your board that is not legal to banish for the Fairy Tale Snow is the Destrudo, because it was not going to be banished when it left the field.
That's a funny trick to be like, if you know the Interdimensional Matter Transporter ruling, you will mess this up. But you didn't expect that I didn't know shit about that card.
No, that's fair. Hey, that's super fair. No, this is good. This one was a really good one. I think that this is one that comes up a lot, understanding when you can or can't pay the cost of a card. Shockingly enough, I really wanted to find like a unique Fairy Tale Snow ruling. This card is very simple and basic. There's like nothing really fucky you can do with this.
It is funny to be like, oh yeah, the fairy tale, the archetype with Fairy Tale Ball, 10 million ridiculous rulings.
Yeah.
Even Luna has some fuckery about it. But Snow, the most powerful card in the archetype, yeah, it just works.
It just works. Yeah, it just does the thing very simply. And I'm not kidding when I say I messaged a bunch of like my judge friends to be like, can you guys think of something really fucked up with Snow? I wanted to close it out with Snow, and they're like, no, I can't think of a thing that's fucked up with Snow.
Oh my god.
So this is where we landed. Joseph, congratulations on being 6 out of 8. That is a really good score. You know most of your Fairy Tale rulings, and a couple of these are just general ruling understanding for Yu-Gi-Oh in general. So yeah, very, very good. You are 6 out of 8. Unfortunately, not 6 out of 7. 6 out of 8. Good score. Good score. How do you feel about your result? Do you feel like it's what you were expecting?
I feel good. That's about where I hoped I would end up. I gotta say it is making me a little embarrassed. I guess I gotta play more Tengu. No. I got some I don't think I should have gotten, and I didn't get some that I thought I should have gotten. So, you know, it evens out.
It evens out. That is fair. Well, Joseph, thank you so much for coming on. To the audience and the people watching, I hope you guys enjoy the ruling quizzes. They are back. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more of these with a lot of your favorite content creators. So if you guys want to leave in the comment section below what content creators you guys love to watch and what decks you think I should quiz them on, leave it down there for me to check out, and I'll see what I can do. I will try my best to reach out to those that are interested in taking part. Joseph, thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for coming on. Thank you so much for indulging me in my coder slop, as Farfa would call it.
It's coders up. You only like it because it's rulings.
I love rulings. I love rulings so much. Rulings are awesome, and you guys should care about rulings too. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Peace.